basketball when they've added Buddy Hield and replaced Clay. Buddy Hield is actually playing defense for like one of the first times in his career. He has
Buddy Hield.
Dude, he has the motivation to play defense now, and he's always shot the ball so damn well. So I think that it's going to be, I think that addition's a lot bigger than what people give anything credit for.
Yeah.
My pick tonight is Warriors. I think they're hand Cleveland the first loss.
Morning, everybody. Here we are.
I love hearing that hot take every time. I love hearing the intro hot take. I love it. It's so good.
I know.
It was wrong. But it was
fired up. Ready?
It was wrong, but you sounded so confident when you said it, man. Like really confident.
It is funny.
Listen,
That's
I
why
was
I got to
so
keep it
confident.
now.
I was so confident that Buddy Hield was going to be the savior of the Warriors, and he was for like a 14-game stretch.
Yep.
After that, he has disappeared and become Indiana Pacers Buddy Hield all over again. So, it is what it is, boys.
That's so true.
He's playing just good enough to keep his job and keep the contract, but he ain't gonna get hurt. He ain't out there to get hurt.
Right.
Oh man,
my goodness.
Good to see you guys. What happened last week, Kale? I see the logo still up there. I don't know what's going on. I feel like
you got it again. I
need to put something black over here so people can see it. I'm just going to hold this so it just makes it easier to see the logo. Put that up there just like that. That makes it easier to see the BCG there. There we go. We'll just throw that out there.
There we go.
I do like it next to Tommy's face. That makes me.
I'll just move
Looks
it.
good.
Appreciate it.
Speaking of that, I better bring up the year to dates.
You should. Yeah.
It's like
I know you don't want to, but you should.
Yeah, when it
roll
person
through. All right, so we got Trey with a 7-game lead, man. And then it's 8 games.
How does that happen, man?
Well, steady wins the race, man.
How do we let Trey do this?
Listen, I'm not sharing my secrets, but I got a strategy that's right now it's working. And the only thing that's kicking me in the butt is my Chicago picks, because I'm now in my head. I'm like, I'm not picking Chicago. And then I'm like, God, I got to take them on this game. And then they lose that game. I'm like, son of a.
What I hate is when you make a pick and then you change it because you're like, oh, like the Clippers last week. I'm like, I had the Clippers picked against Milwaukee at home, and then I changed it, and it was like that would have made us tied.
Oh man, that's too bad.
Man,
that's
tough.
I know you're really disappointed about that, aren't you?
I really am. I'll tell you what I'm most excited about, and that is my tiebreaker differential has come back to be solid, to be pretty solid. So I'm quite happy about that. I mean, because at first I was really off, and now we're getting dialed in. I'm also, here's the funny thing too, is I didn't read the directions well enough at the beginning. I didn't know it was the last game tiebreaker score. I thought it was more like an average. And now I'm like looking at the game going, okay, these guys suck. This is going to be a little bit lower.
I actually
full analysis now.
We're getting better now.
I have a new strategy. I haven't done my picks yet, so I was waiting for this, and then maybe you guys just sway me, or I'll learn something here. Teach me, please, your ways.
No, that's as far as I'm going. That's it. That's all I got.
So last week was a tough week. You won it with 11-7, and then Josh and I were a game back, and then Think Freight forgot to put his picks in.
That guy's an idiot.
Rookie mistake right there.
I hit snooze on my calendar alert and said, I'll do this in 20 minutes. I'll remember. I won't forget. Left the house, forgot. If you guys hadn't sent that group chat text, I would have just been screwed the whole weekend and not even remembered until Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
still in there too.
Yeah, we let's be honest, we all had a pretty rough week, but maybe it's just middle of the season fatigue. We got a ways to go here.
We're hitting the wall.
I think it is a little fatigue for the teams too, because you got teams that are laying eggs and stuff, and that should be picking up wins and they're not. So, it's like, how do you gauge that? Well, and then load management's a whole thing too. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah, load management's a problem. I still can't get over that. I keep thinking about, we're just going to talk, we're going to look old here. I just keep thinking back to the day where, Jordan's playing 82 games as a 35-year-old. He played 82 games his last year with the Wizards. He was 40. Now, it wasn't great, but he played in all 82. He probably didn't play as many minutes, but he still played in all 82. It's like, classic example. We were in Charlotte last Friday. All right. Well, I couldn't be on the show. The tour guide that we were talking to there said, "Hey, I think there's a Hornets game tonight." I was like, "Oh," because we were just planning on having dinner. So Dan and I are like, "Ooh, let's go, let's do it." So we go to the Hornets game, and I'm excited because I've never seen LaMelo play. Yeah. You know, I'm super stoked about it. We get out there, dude's wearing pink sweats on the end of the bench. I'm like, it's Friday night. Like, take off Monday night, take off Tuesday night. You're gonna take off Friday night? You got all these kids in this arena that came to watch you play, and you take off Friday night. Like, I can't get over that. It just drives me nuts. Now, if he's injured, I know he's had some injuries. I get that. He's still coming back, and maybe he's not full. I get it. But if you can play, man,
gotta play.
Those fans deserve it.
Yeah, I know. I think so. My kid's obviously not LaMelo, but he rolled his ankle pretty bad. And, you know, he played last night. That was the second game back, and he played – that was Thursday, so Monday night. And he was probably about 70, 80%. You know, you could just see he didn't have explosiveness. His handle was a little bit off because he hadn't played in a couple of weeks. But him being there made our team better. So it's like, you know, if you're not further hampering recovery of an injury, you know, I think you got to play.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wrap my head around that dude.
I know, me neither. It is, especially like, you know, like you're saying, because I mean, the first thing I text you is like, hey, tell LaMelo hi, and you're like, oh, I would, but he's not playing. You know?
Yeah, I probably could actually. I should go down and just tap on the shoulder. Hey, Cale Pearson says hi.
Yeah,
get out and play.
Yeah.
You know,
you know, and that is a guy I would love to see play, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of tough, but
yeah, I don't know. Well, either way, it's neither here nor there. Now, hey, I will say this: I did get to watch my first game of the year start to finish, and that was pretty fun. So I had time on Wednesday. I watched the OKC Warriors game, and dude, SJ was lighting it up in the first half. I mean, that dude was looking pretty unstoppable. But you know, it's interesting, and the Warriors were dead. Like, their energy was low. Curry was kind of low. The timeouts, they weren't excited. There was no jumping around. There was just the ball wasn't moving like it normally does. And then, man, something clicked at, like, you know, the 9-minute mark in the third quarter, maybe 8-minute mark, something like that, where the ball started moving again for Golden State. They started hitting some threes, started getting some layups, and then SGA and company, they started going ISO ball. They went ISO ball for the entire second half. And they, you know, you get 3 or 4 misses in a row, dude, that 8-10 point lead gone, you know, gone. And that's what happened. It was like, man, that was quick. You know, like, I couldn't believe how fast they lost control of the game. It was never out of control. Like, the game was never out of reach, but they were in control the first half and had a pretty good 10, 12 point lead the majority of the time, maybe 7 here and there. Dude, they lost control of that game quickly. In a hurry.
It is.
I was pretty shocked
how fast it can happen in the NBA. You know, you miss 3 or 4 shots, all of a sudden it's a 10-point swing.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's really wild. And so it was good to watch the first game, though. Good to see kind of that. It was good to see Curry kind of get his bounce back. You know, he kind of got into it. He had a couple of deep threes late and had that kind of Curry swagger with a little shoulder, and, you know, was kind of feeling it. And it was good to see, that's for sure.
I loved that dunk that GP2 had along the baseline.
Yeah, dude, that was sick.
That was sick.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. You know, it's crazy because I remember back in the day, the tall guys back in the day couldn't jump. Mm-hmm. You know, like, the first big man that could really jump, like, big man, was Vince Carter. It seemed like, who was 6'10" and could jump like a 6'4" guy. Most of the time, if you were 6'10", 6'11" in the NBA, you weren't jumping out of the gym. Greg Ostertag was not jumping, right? Like, you're not jumping. Manute Bol was not jumping.
Didn't have to. Never had to, right?
Even Dikembe Mutombo didn't have massive ups. He was just 7 foot, right? But you get guys now in the league that are 6'9" that can jump like they're 6'2", 6'3". You get guys that, if you're 6'9", 6'10", you can jump like John Morant. It's crazy what those guys can do now compared to back in the day. What Jordan did and what Dr. J did, that was special. That was unique. Is now just like commonplace, man. It's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. Well, I think so many of those guys are training it from a young age too. You know, it's just the specialization of sports and whatnot. And I don't know if you've seen the clip on John Morant, how his dad would train him to jump off the tire, you know, and just they did that every single day. And it's like it's just that muscle memory, and that's, you know, obviously you got to have some athletic ability with it, but if you're specifically training for it, it's you know, it's a differentiator. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, dude, it really
100%.
is. It's absolutely wild. So, it's good stuff, dude. It's good stuff. All right, what did you guys notice this week? What stood out to you?
Tell me what you got.
Honestly, I wanted to touch on something that Kale brought up, and something that's not even like about the game, but it's also about the game, is Adam Silver and his 10 minutes. What do you guys think about that? Like, what do you guys think about changing the actual time on the game?
I'm so glad you brought this up. I saw that and I thought that's not the problem.
No, it's not.
That's not the problem. Like, why would you even propose that? That is not the problem. Let me give you an equivalent of this. All right, that's on the PGA Tour and golf. Everybody hates the fact that golf takes a long time to play, right?
Yep.
And they have a penalty for if you take too long per shot, but they don't enforce it. But instead of doing that, they're going to let the players use laser. That's not going to change the conversations. They're going to get their yardage faster, but they're still going to talk. They're still going to take their time. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is that they don't know the yardage. The problem is they talk about their shot too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the same situation. The problem is not that the game is too long. The problem is the defense can't do anything.
Right.
So you bring back hand checking, you bring back the physical nature of the game, you make it harder for them to dribble around and not be prohibited to go somewhere. That's going to make the game fun again. Yeah. That's going to bring back physicality. That's going to bring back rivalries. That's going to bring back, a little bit of heat in the game. It's going to make, 3-pointers harder to be wide open. That's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's run. Where's Rod Stern? Can we get these people back, or whoever it was that was running it in the 80s? Can we get them back to run this thing? Who was running it when Jordan was in? That guy, he made the league incredible. Yeah. Whoever that was, I don't even remember who it was, but it was phenomenal. Yeah. So I'm not happy.
Do you think that, now to touch on your point of LaMelo sitting out and load management, do you think that the NBA needs to go from 82 games to like a 65-game season? Or do you think that it just needs to stay at 82 games? Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. It needs to stay at 82 games.
These were never problems until the players started making a lot of money. They were never problems. Yeah. And think about this. They're making guaranteed money now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would think if anybody wanted to make sure they didn't get hurt, it was the guys back in the day that were not getting guaranteed money or shorter contracts. Now they're getting 4 and 5 year deals for 30, 40, 50 million a year. If you're a backup point guard for the Heat, you're going to make 16 million a year. Get out and play.
Yeah. That drives me nuts. Ball, 205 million guaranteed.
Yeah. And you got kids on Friday night coming to the game and he's like,
yeah.
Like that, dude, that just, this is why, and listen, this is why I think the NBA is out of touch with fans overall, because fans see right through that. You don't have to tell a fan this. They understand that this is BS.
Mm-hmm.
This is BS. Now it's different, and I will say I didn't like the fact that the Chiefs rested everybody against the Broncos, but I also knew that they had already played well enough and secured their spot.
Yeah,
and they were resting for the playoffs. Yeah, they've already secured their spot. But we're in January. Like, go out and play.
Yeah.
Like, I see that as just being totally out of touch with everybody else who has to go to their job every day, who has to perform. And they don't have guaranteed money like these guys. Like, you have guaranteed money. If you get hurt, you're still going to get paid. Go play.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no pity for that. Well, you know how I feel now.
Yeah, I think too, in addition to that, is like, you just look at it from a historical perspective of the game, of record keeping and points per game and all these single game records, and then the cumulative records. I mean, it just changes the paradigm really from historically, and nothing's relevant. And now everything's, you're just going to have to reestablish a baseline for everything. So, but yeah, to your point, Trey, about like, go to work, do your job. And, you see this trickle down effect all the way into college, right? It's like, especially in the bowl season, right? They opt out. I mean, it's like, and you look at to me, it's like the example you're setting for kids, like, it's okay to not do your job. It's really what you're doing.
Right. And it starts at the top. I love the coaches who say, no one's taking the bowl game off. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
If you want to play for this program, you're playing. Like you're not taking the time off. But again, I think it starts at the top, and I think you're absolutely right. It's like, man, you don't want to force people to do things they don't want to do, but you committed to playing.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 6 years old, all right, my mom signed me up for soccer, all right, and I sucked. I was a little fat kid. My face was super red. I didn't have any fun. And I remember my mom came to me and she said, "Are you having fun? Do you want to keep playing?" And I was like, "No, I hate this." And she goes, "Okay, we're going to finish this season out and then you're done. You don't have to play ever again."
Yeah.
And I finished the season out, because that's what we committed to,
Yep.
It's like, I feel like in this day and era, if you just say, "Okay, I'll let the coach know we won't be here the rest of the season." That's what it feels like is the culture. That's what I hate that.
I know. I had a similar situation with our oldest. He absolutely loved soccer and was the starting keeper on our best team. And they support multi-sport athletes until you choose the sport that's not theirs. Yep. And it was basketball season into soccer, and so he was missing. And then all of a sudden he's not playing. And then towards the end of the season he wins his spot back, and they're like, "Oh, if he just played like this," I'm like, "He's played like this the whole time." It's like you just, as a keeper, you either play or you don't. It's not like you rotate goalkeepers in.
Right.
And, there was a lot of just cliquish things. It was middle school and he was not having fun. He's like, "Dad, I hate this." And I said, "I understand. I can see that, but you're not quitting." I said, "Because if I allow you to quit this one thing, that becomes the standard going forward."
Yep. Right. Right.
And, it's just
if you ever want to quit again, what am I going to say as a parent? I can't say no.
Right.
Because I already said yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really hate the to me, it gets down to, I don't think that the league can force players to play.
No.
It comes down to culture. It comes down to players wanting to play. That's the thing. Jordan wanted to play.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to play every game. Like, and I was the same. Like, can you imagine? Okay, I played basketball in college. There's 30 to 35 games a season max. You have 4 years. So max you get to play is 140 games that uniform if you play all 4 years every game.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you don't want to miss.
Why would I want to miss one?
Yeah.
Why would I want to miss one?
Yeah.
So it blows my mind. We're sounding like a bunch of old dudes. But to answer your question, Thomas, that is not the problem.
Yeah.
Time of the game.
I agree.
Well, yeah, you talked about not wanting to, last night Ian had a game and he's he plays aggressive defense, so he'll pick up 3 fouls occasionally. Into the third quarter, coach is like, looks up, it's a minute and a half, he subs him out. It's like, "Coach, I won't foul, I promise." He doesn't even want to come out of the game.
Right. Right.
That's the mentality that we need to see. At the professional level. It's not like I'm better and I get special treatment. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a question about that real quick. A little sidebar, a little rabbit trail on that rule right there. So high school, college, you get 5 fouls and then you're disqualified. Pro, you get 6. My buddy, who is the head women's basketball coach at Western Illinois, JD Gravina, he thinks that that's one of the dumbest rules of basketball, that a player is disqualified for too many fouls because it changes the game in a way that other sports doesn't happen. So, for example, can you imagine a defensive back who, if he gets 2 pass interferences, he's out, he's disqualified from the game? When I was in college, if you picked up 2 fouls in the first half, you were out, no questions asked. And it didn't matter who you were. Our All-American Chad Jones, out. Your little Trey Griggs, out. Didn't matter. You were out. It changes the whole game. Like, there's already a penalty for fouling too much. It's free throws. There's already a penalty. But then you have this, and sometimes refs make bad calls.
Oh,
we know that.
Yep.
They're going to make bad calls. If they make a bad call, if they make 2 bad calls in the first half, in the first 4 minutes, you're out. Like, that changes the whole game. Yeah. And there's no other sport where that's the case. So my buddy is petitioning that they eliminate the disqualification rule for fouls, because you still have free throws. You still have, there's still a penalty. It's not like you just get away with it,
Yeah, it's tough. I don't like the whole foul limit either, because I'll give you a per example. I was coaching a couple weeks ago, the little guys, and they were fouls on us, but they called it on the wrong guy, both of them. And I was like, "Hey, that's not a foul on him." He's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And I said, "Well, just call it on the right person." And the ref got really defensive. He's like, "Oh, here we go." I'm like, "I'm not disputing that it was a foul." Right. Just get it right.
Person.
The kid's like, "Hey, it was me. I committed the foul." I go, "The other kid wasn't even close."
Yeah.
So then
And think about this: in football, they make the mistake on who committed the foul. They do that from time to time, but it doesn't impact the game.
No.
Like
Right.
if they call the wrong number on defensive pass interference, it doesn't jeopardize that player getting kicked out of the game. So I just think that's one of the dumbest rules because you have free throws, because you have consequences already built into the game. If you foul too much, they get free throws.
It does change the game more than anything because you get 3 fouls in the third quarter and you're still playing.
Yeah.
Now you're like this.
Yeah. Now here's the one thing is if a team has a really bad free throw shooter, you may just foul him over and over and over again. Just hack a shack, right? So here's a play for that. When you get into the double bonus,
right, you choose.
The shooting team can pick whoever they want to shoot.
Yeah.
That'll change it because then you can't just hack Shaq and have him shoot free throws. You hack and put me on line, you guys are done.
Yeah.
You guys are sunk.
Yeah, exactly.
So
or
it's pretty.
Hey, listen, or the team just has to get better at making free throws. Get better, buddy.
Yeah,
that's true. It's part of the game, but that's anyways. That's a whole side note.
No, I could, from personal experience, both my kids are foul prone, and it always changes the game. So I would be in favor of that rule because they play aggressive defense. And I miss the guy up arm barring the guy basically in his shirt, nose to nose. I tell my kids, I'm like, listen, I want them to smell your bad breath. I want you to breathe in their face and make them uncomfortable. And trying to get kids to play like that is tough.
I would much rather that style of defense than what we have now, where you just see no one gets touched from the free throw line all the way to the rim. I'd much rather see an arm in someone's face and those harder fouls and again to Trey's point, I think it's a good point that in football there is no there's no limit there, but there's also no every single time or there's a foul after a certain point they don't get to kick a free point or whatever. That could be an interesting thing in the NFL, but different discussion, different time.
Well, they do have a disqualification. That's for unsportsmanlike conduct
for sure.
So 2 of those and you're out of the game. It could be something along those lines where like if it's an intentional foul, if you're just hacking people just to hack them and it's not a basketball play, maybe there's a limit on those, but not just basketball plays.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that could be. I could think that could be a good mitigation.
Hey,
they need us on the rules committee. Adam Silver doesn't know what he's doing. Changing the time, that's not.
When was the last time you saw a delay of game penalty in a basketball game result in a technical foul?
A delay of game in basketball resort in does that happen?
It can.
Last night we had it happen against us. So when the ball comes through the net, if you hit it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's
a delay game. And then the other one is we play really tight on the baseline on the inbound. And the kid, he does it all the time. He always steps over the line or reaches over the line and hits the ball like as he's passing it. So we had, no warnings. And basically, like Ian, like the ball just came through and he just tapped it after he made it. And the guy stops it. It was like it went right to the guy. And then got a technical foul. And it's like
what coaches teach players to do in that situation. You always just hand it to the ref. So because sometimes the ball comes down and you can't avoid it, or if it hits your shoulder, it's going to go out of bounds. So you're actually doing them a favor. You get the ball, you just toss to the ref, and they toss to the player, and they will never call a delay game for that.
Yeah. So it was just
that's
like,
but that's kind of a weird one. That's kind of a weird one.
I'm like, it's all about this guy.
Well, if they stop the clock on a made basket under 2 minutes or something, then that wouldn't be the case. But it's because the clock's still running.
Yeah.
So that's why they do that.
Exactly.
Anyways. All right. So I guess we need to form a rules committee for the NBA and somehow figure out how to get on that.
I'd be down for that.
Hostile takeover of the NBA.
Dude, if they had fans on the rules committee, that would, that would actually make some common sense. Like, this is what we want to see. This is what we hate seeing.
Hey,
that would be an interesting perspective.
Speaking of that, it's not rules committee, but all-star snubs. I didn't send it out to you guys, but did you see LaMelo was the top vote getter and is not on the all-star team?
How is that possible? How do they decide all-stars?
Because you got the fan vote and then you got the player vote and the media vote. And he was the leading vote getter for the fans and didn't make the all-star team.
But don't they have guaranteed spots for the fan voting?
No, it's just a percentage. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, so it's a combination of all three?
Yeah.
Oh, so he got the most fans, but didn't get the league, and so wow. Talk about being tone deaf to your fan base.
Right.
Yep.
And
there should be something that says if you're the top vote getter or maybe the top 3 vote getters for fans, you're in.
you're in.
Well,
You
this
know,
is
like
it.
like
This
something
is
like
the
that.
this is the NBA just being completely out of touch with their fans and what their fans want to see and the product that they want to see. We want to see LaMelo
Tone
Ball.
deaf.
Yeah, they're just completely out of touch.
That's crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
Is there a chance where somebody gets injured here coming up and
he can
LaMelo
be-
slides
Oh,
in?
100%.
Yeah, that's probably what will happen. But it's just crazy that
Yeah,
it was a top
That is
vote
pretty
getter.
wild. That I think the MLB is all fan voting. I think for the most part, I think that's the primary for that. I don't know if there's other aspects to it, and I think that makes sense because it's who do the fans think is best, you know,
Yeah,
and
who do they
who
want
do
to
they
see?
want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. There's some big markets that might be able to do a better job, but I'm telling you what, when Kansas City had great teams in 2014 and 2015, the Royals that nobody knows about, they had like 6 guys on the All-Star team because they were really good about getting their people to vote, and their fans were so happy about them. They were going. I mean, Kansas City was in love with the Royals because they went to the World Series and then they went again, and so they got a lot of people in the All-Star game as a result of that because their fans voted. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems pretty odd. That seems pretty odd.
It was kind of crazy. So who do you guys see as far as trades? What's the big trade you see coming down other than the Jimmy Butler saga? Anything that's on your radar?
Dude, I'll tell you what. Did you guys watch the Inside the NBA spat about Jimmy Butler between Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenny
No,
the
I
Jet?
didn't see
Dude, that is made for TV. Shaq was actually like on Jimmy Butler's side. He's like, you don't want me? I don't want you. I don't want to be here. Like, you don't want me? I don't want to be here. And they're like, you're making $50 million and you signed a contract and you're making $50 million next year.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, but I want more. He goes, too bad. He goes, then if you don't want me, I don't want to be here. I mean, like, talk about like out of touch with just reality. You got $100 million guaranteed for the next year and a half, and you're gonna complain.
Well, and what's
you're
his
gonna
penalty?
not
I
play.
need to look it up. I was telling my wife that, for missing every game. I'm gonna look that up.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of the stuff is guaranteed, but I don't know if there's triggers that change that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're suspended, you don't get paid.
Oh, so if the team suspends you, that's one thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, that's different.
$532,000 per game he loses.
I mean, that's pretty wild to think about that he's going to hold that ground. Like you signed a contract. It was a good deal. You liked the deal when you signed it. Like, go if you can negotiate an extension, get an extension. If you can negotiate a trade, but you don't stop playing. They're paying you $50 million a year.
Yeah.
That's totally out of touch. Like that is so out of touch.
Yeah, I saw a stat that LeBron played for the Heat for 2 years less, but he had more minutes played in those 2 seasons for both regular season and playoffs than Jimmy did.
Yep.
This is unfortunately, these kind of things tarnish your legacy.
Yeah.
Is Jimmy Butler a champion? Like these things have a massive impact on how people perceive you moving forward, you know?
Yeah.
Massively.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Exactly.
Too
So
bad, that's for sure.
Houston's been on a roll. They actually lost last night, but previous to that, they've beaten Cleveland twice. They beat Boston. They beat Memphis twice. They beat the Nuggets this year. They're looking pretty dang strong.
Yeah,
strong.
they're not just beating the teams they're supposed to beat. They're also, like you said, they're beating those good teams that have really good records. And when you beat Cleveland twice, that's not a bottom feeder team, one of the best teams in the league. So yeah, that's impressive.
Let me tell you what I'm loving about Houston. I love it when you have some of these very talented, but in my opinion, prima donnas out there who are running the team, shooting all the shots, ISOing all the time, but the team doesn't win. And then they leave and the team figures out how to win. I love the fact, like James Harden had that. He had that franchise. He had that city. They couldn't win. He's gone. They put the pieces together. They win. It reminds me of the 1980 hockey team, USA hockey team, in that movie Miracle, where he's like, "I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right players."
Yeah,
goes back to our conversation about that. Like, just because you're talented doesn't mean that you're the missing link. It's cool to see these teams that have maybe not have all the players with the big names, the big brands, but they are figuring out how to win. And Houston's getting on a roll.
Yeah. I hate when you have a player where, I always call it, that's where the ball goes to die.
Yeah. Yep. Like, right. If he gets the ball, just go back on defense. It's not, it's not, you ain't getting it back.
Or turnovers coming, right?
Yep. But if you look at the roster's rocket, I mean, they've got some role players. They've got some journeymen that, just have experience, that are willing to do whatever it takes, have a little chip on their shoulder. I mean, some people don't like Dylan Brooks. I mean, he's an Oregon guy. So, Kill, you and I know him very well from his time there. But you see these guys that are they're just willing to get after it. I mean, Van Fleet's making $43 million, but he plays like a journeyman who's fighting for his contract. He's the right player. And it's neat to see teams like that with these guys that are just out there, getting after it and figuring out the different combinations, the rotations, and making it work. Like, there's nobody on that team that you would look at and go, that guy's making a ton of headlines, like you would maybe see like John Morant, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But man, they know how to play. They know how to win. That's cool.
To touch on that,
I love seeing that.
To touch on what you said, Trey, that the right player, to have the right player. So has Jimmy Butler made himself so toxic to the point where he's just no longer the right player for a lot of teams?
Who is going to want to bring that in? Yeah, he's talented. Yeah. But, is he a team guy? Is he going to do whatever it takes to win? Is he going to sacrifice as he needs to for the team to win? I don't think a GM in the league could definitively say yes.
Yeah.
So why would you take that contract on? Why would you trade future capital stock for Jimmy Butler? What's going to happen in the playoffs if he's not happy? Like, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. What's the standard for Jimmy Butler now? The standard is, if I don't get what I want, I'll just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what team's going to want that? I can't think of a team that's going to say, "Yep, bring that into this locker room."
No, for sure. Like, who's like at this point? Like, they're talking about Houston wanting him. I mean, are you going to bring him into the locker room that is finally clicking and finally on a move?
No chance.
Yeah, exactly. You're not bringing him into Oklahoma City. You're not bringing him into Denver. You're not bringing him into LA. Either LA situation. You're not sending him anywhere probably in the East. It's just he's going to end up on a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, and he'll get paid, but they're not going to do anything.
Right. Well, or maybe somebody that maybe they try to bring him in at Phoenix because they feel like they need to make a run, but they're so low in the playoffs. And, something like that. Where is that going to actually help them out? No, because like you said, the ball's going to go to die, and on that team, that can't happen.
No.
So I don't know, man. This is going to be real fascinating to see what happens. I can't imagine a team that has any common sense that would look at that situation and go, yeah, bring that into our locker room. We're good with that.
Yep.
I know. It is nuts. Well, going back to Van Fleet, I mean, he's a guy that I love because he was undrafted.
Yep.
Wichita State. Go Shockers.
Yeah. I mean, in the Shockers of, I mean, that's a fun
They had
team
a run, man. They made a run. Yeah.
But it's like, you got that, and it's overused sometimes, but he's got that dog in him where it's like he goes to Wichita State. Yeah, it's a great program, but it's not a blue blood, right? But they can make the tournament year after year, and I don't know them exactly, but they probably recruit guys that they know that, are team guys, right? They're going to put the team first. They're going to do the things it takes. And then Van Fleet gets the NBA, becomes an all-star, biggest player, biggest contract, run undrafted player up until Duncan Robinson. I mean, all these things, and I just like his game. And he's not a big guard either.
No, he's 6 foot.
Small king.
I mean, he's a little guy, but he's a floor general. He keeps that team together. He brings a lot of intangibles that you don't see on the stat sheet. He's still averaging, I think, 15, 16 a game or something like that. So he's still contributing. He's contributing 6 or 7 assists a game, but he's he just keeps it all together. And again, that's what you need. Like, you need the glue guy who makes it all run. That's so critical to have that person who's just going to. I mean, I look back to the Lakers teams. I mean, Kobe clearly was the go-to guy, of course, but we would never say he was the glue that kept it all together. That was Derek Fisher.
Oh, Derek Fisher
kept that together.
100%.
Or even like Ron Harper before that.
Harper,
yeah. Exactly. Ron Harper did it in Chicago, with the Bulls. I mean, you had obviously the superstars, but who was making sure that they were doing the right things is Ron Harper. I think you look at Rondo for the Celtics when they made their run.
Yep.
It's like you need a glue guy on the team that just keeps everything on track.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what he does.
100%.
And that's when you get to the playoffs, that kind of stuff matters. That's what excites me about them, because like OKC is the Flash and they're the darlings, and they're playing well. But Houston in the playoffs, I think they're going to be a tough matchup. Especially if they're clicking and they go 10 deep, they're going to be a tough matchup.
Listen, they have really good head coaching. Ime Udoka is a really good head coach. Even through all the scandal, we can look turn your cheek at that for a second. everything he's done in his coaching career is really solid, and he's going to be a nightmare to go up against in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it always starts that way. I mean, we haven't talked football, and we don't need to, but you got two really good coaches in the NFL. I've been learning a lot about Sirianni lately. He's kind of quirky, but they say he's like so detail focused.
He's so
that it drives people up the wall. And Andy Reid's the same way, where these guys pay attention to the smallest details. The teams are well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. And again, that's just where it starts. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. Hanging on the Rockets for a second, they lost that game last night, but they didn't have their center in Segun, however you say his name. So I don't know why he was out, and they still only lost by 1. But yeah, crazy. So Trey, you got to wrap up here in a few minutes, right? What's one more?
I do
before you got to get out of here.
One more take. I really hope the next time I'm in Charlotte and LaMelo plays. That's number one. I feel like I need to write him a letter, let him know how disappointed I was. I mean, that's literally why I went to the game, was to watch him play.
I bet. I know. That's why
they're playing the Trailblazers. They're playing the Trailblazers. I mean, it wasn't like I was, going to watch them or anything. I wanted to watch LaMelo play in person, and
you wanted to see DeAndre Ayton. I know that.
Yeah, right. So that's one for sure. I will say this. I think I'm really excited about a couple of the teams that have found their way. I mean, the one that excites me the most right now, and I don't know if it's going to last, is Milwaukee. When we first started this, the picks, man, they had nothing. We were talking like, what's wrong with them? They can't put it together. It seemed odd. They've really found their groove, and they've moved up into the 4th spot. I mean, they're still quite a ways back from Cleveland, but they're within striking distance of Boston and New York. I could see them potentially sneaking into a 3 seed in the playoffs. And again, they're just one of those teams where they have the talent. I'd love to see Dame have a deep playoff run and play in the finals. I would love to see that, because I think Dame is one of those dogs too. I mean, he went to Weber State, however you pronounce it.
State.
out in Salt Lake.
Yeah, big.
And I mean, he was a dog. He's a dog, and so I'd love to see him and Giannis in the finals. That'd be my desire on the Eastern Conference side, and then I'd love to see him go up against a team like Houston. That would be a fun series to see that, or maybe like somebody like Memphis. Just these kind of undermarket teams.
Yeah,
I would love to see like a Milwaukee-Memphis final. That'd be pretty awesome. So we'll see what happens, but that's
Trey, before you have to hop, are you excited for Pat Riley to get even richer with the Chiefs 3-peat upcoming?
Yeah.
Did he wager? I didn't see that. Did he put
he
owns
the copyright.
Oh, does he really?
For 3-peat. Yeah.
So we're 3-peat. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
The Bulls won, he made a bunch of money. Yeah. He's
genius. Wow, that's impressive. So yeah, I hope he makes a lot of money, because that means we won. So 100% I do. I hope he gets that. I'm excited for the game coming up. That's good. I will say this, on the show today, we have Eric Mazzotti from Trailer Bridge talking about his 2025 predictions. We also have Nate Cross, who is a Buffalo Bills fan. As long as my jersey reached him, he's going to be on the show today. Otherwise, he'll be on next Friday. He has to wear a Chiefs jersey again because he just doesn't learn. This is the 4th time in a row he's had to do it. So that's going to be fun. And we're also giving away, we're raffling off a ticket to Manifest on the show today at the end of the show. So if you want to go to Manifest, a ticket, you can watch the show, put in a comment before the half-hour mark, and you are entered to the raffle. We're going to draw that about 12:55 Central Time today. Somebody's getting a free ticket to Manifest today. Pretty excited about that.
Sweet.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Hey, I'm out of here.
All right, man.
Peace out, fellas.
We'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy.
Yeah, let's do it. We got to get Josh back in here and talk some trash. Guys at the bottom of the barrel. All right. Peace out, guys. We'll see you
Later.
See ya.